It's that time of year when the kids are going back to school and when we think about decorating for the fall season. I have the perfect collection that will inspire you and usher in autumn. These soft and inviting freestanding primitive pumpkins using OESD favorite felt are sure to warm up any space you put them in, and primitive pumpkins are perfect throughout the season from September all the way through Thanksgiving. Along with freestanding primitive pumpkins, I will also show you two other collections in our primitive line, Primitive Autumn Appliqué and Primitive Autumn Quilting, that are quite versatile and fun to create with. I'm going to walk you through how to make one of these beautiful pumpkins, along with tips, tricks, and stabilizers to make it easier, and I'm excited to show you a couple of other items displaying the flexibility of these delightful collections. Plus, you'll want to stay tuned for an amazing bundle of products so you'll have everything that you need for your fall home decor. We're going to start by looking at the completed pumpkins in this collection as they were designed to look. There are three gorgeous pumpkins. We have our big pumpkin done in the brown felt. We have our medium pumpkin done in the black felt. And then of course we have our little teeny tiny one right here, not teeny tiny, but our beautiful baby one done in the gray. And this is the one that we are going to do today. I want to show you a couple of things that I really like about the pumpkins. First things first is let's talk about this pumpkin shape. See how it goes in? I love how the digitizers made that classic pumpkin shape in this design. It is so satisfying to see it kind of going in like that, like you would have with a true pumpkin. The other thing that I want to highlight is that our pumpkin isn't empty. We have a nice base, so you're not just having that open to the air. You have a wonderful stem. I love the detailing on the stem. It is beautiful right there. And then finally, I want you to notice that on each and every pumpkin, we have their own little special leaf, which is another freestanding applique element that just gives it a little more fun. I really love the sophistication and the elegance of these pumpkins. I think it's unlike anything else we've done so far. Don't forget, we have a fantastic bundle designed to help you get started on these cozy pumpkins. You want to make sure that you're staying tuned. But the first thing I like to do is when I'm starting any project is I'm going to go ahead and print off the PDF of instructions for that primitive pumpkins, the freestanding primitive pumpkins. While the PDF is printing, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to think about the versatility of Primitive Autumn Appliqué and Primitive Autumn Quilting. So let me move these out of the way and I'm going to show you what they look like. First things first is this is part of the collection of Primitive Autumn Appliqué. Aren't they beautiful? I want to show you though what you can do if you just tweak one element. So for this one, I really love how beautiful this is, but I decided to incorporate my favorite color, green, and what I decided to do was make a garden flag using those same elements, but I made the stems green and I did the little decorative in the green thread, and then I changed the leaf green. So it just gives it a slightly different look. But these are so versatile that let me show you what I did if I decided to completely change the colors. So using this same Primitive Autumn Appliqué, I used this element right here and this element, and I thought, all right, I'm gonna do this. So with swapping the orange fabric to the pink and the lighter orange into the yellow, and we've got some light pink here, two different greens, it gives it a completely different look. This happens to be our penned alphabet, which is a wonderful design. So I added that as well, and now I have this really pretty garden flag that I could either use in spring or in fall. This would be great in September, and I think this would be really pretty in May. So that shows sort of the versatility of the autumn, Primitive Autumn Appliqué, but now I'm going to show you the Primitive Autumn Quilting. So I'll move these out of the way. This quilting design, look at this. I had so much fun making this. I thought, well, this will be a really fun table topper. So I did something pretty simple, not very big, but I use the primitive autumn quilting in this, and I just wanted to show you. Isn't this pretty? Wouldn't this be fun on a table? And I thought, well, if I had like a little vase, I could just put the vase right there. Isn't this fun? So it just shows you how versatile these 3 different collections are. I absolutely am in love with all 3 of them. All right, I think the PDF is probably done printing, so I'm gonna go ahead and put these away. Now that our PDF is done with the printing, let's go ahead and take a look at it. First thing I love is that it is in color, and all of our instructions are great because they actually have step-by-step instructions with color photographs. Makes it really easy to follow along. One of the first things that I'm going to do is that I notice right away I've got our stabilizers, our textiles, our thread colors, the notions and tools, so I know that it is time for me to get all of our supplies ready, and we're going to do that right now. All right, so let's talk about the supplies that we're gonna need to make these pumpkins. We have our badge master, our stable stick, aqua mesh, and fiberform. Those are our stabilizers, and there'll be more on them in a little bit. We're gonna have our tearaway and our wash away tape. The wash away really is just for backup in case you get a hole in your stabilizers. We need the perfect punch tool with the mini mat, the perfect scoring tool. We definitely need to have our alligator clamps and our button clips. We need to have our felt, and we cannot forget our grippy grid because I honestly cannot live without my grippy grid. It is so essential for hooping. Now I need to clean this table so I can show you how to make the pumpkins. And while I'm doing that, you're gonna watch a little fast video on how those pumpkins are gonna come together. All right, now we want to talk about our pre-work, and I've highlighted here pages 6 and 7. You can actually even see my writing. This is for the gray pumpkin. It lets me know what design I'm going to be stitching out, and it tells me how many panels it requires. So in this case, I have 2 of the medium orange, the light orange, and the dark orange. Then I also know that I need to do 1 stem base and 1 pumpkin base. And what's really great is that we have PDFs with mirrored images that we can print out on our printer, and I did that with appliqué Fuse and Fix, which is really, really great. So it helps me to prepare my fabric ahead of time, and I did that. I actually cut out one, and then I can attach it to my fiber form. Bring that down here. Now I'm going to grab my little handy dandy iron, and I'm just going to give that a press. Now I have actually done all of that because, you know, it's the magic of television. You want to make sure that you have everything set up. You'll notice that I've pre-cut all of my pieces. I have my base, my stem base, my leaf. I just want to show you, you're saying, but what is this white piece right here? This is actually a piece of stable stick cutaway. And I'm using the stable stick cutaway to give my felt a little bit more of body. Makes it easier to cut when I go to cut this leaf out. I also have all of my flowers that I have already ironed, and I've started to trim them out. So when you're going through your fabric prep, it is really important that you do all of that ahead of time. I highly recommend printing out the mirrored images on appliqué Fuse and Fix and making sure that you have your, so you can see I started to pre-cut that, making sure you have your stable stick cutaway on the back. So that is the first thing that's most important, is going through your instructions, making sure you know exactly how many panels you're going to be making. It's 2 of these, 2 of these, 2 of these. You're going to be doing 1 base for the stem. You're going to do 1 stem. You're going to do 1 pumpkin base and 1 leaf. You'll notice that there is nothing to pre-cut for the fabric prep for the stem, and that's because it's just going to be entirely on our stabilizers. All right, now we're going to talk about hooping, and if you're following along in the PDF, you're going to notice I'm on page 10 on step 5, and that is human step 5 as opposed to the machine. So I'm going to take 1 layer of my aqua mesh, and I'm going to take 1 layer of my Badge Master. Sometimes we get asked if it matters what order this is in, and I'm going to tell you right now, it does not matter. In fact, as you see me do the step outs, you're going to see that sometimes I did it this way and sometimes I did it that way. And it was a really fun conversation that we had in the office about, is there a right way? And it turns out for most projects, there is not. You can do it either way. So I am using my grippy grid so that my hoop isn't sliding around. I love this grippy grid. They will have to pry it from my cold dead hands one day. That's how much I love it. All right, I'm getting my hoop in. I'm going to need to loosen this. Give it a little tightness. And when I hoop, I have the visualization in my head of like a bongo drum. You know, you don't want it too loose and you don't want it too tight. All right, so now we're going to take this over to the machine, and it's going to stitch a placement stitch, just as it says on step 6 of your PDF. So step 6 and the magic of television, I actually have the placement line, which is step 6 on our PDF, and I went ahead and placed our fiber form just inside that placement line. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take our felt, already backed with our stable stick cutaway, and I'm going to put it right on top. I'm going to take 2 pieces of tearaway tape, and it's going to do my 2 lines of stitching. It's going to do my tack down and my cut line. And the reason why it's going to do 2 lines of stitching, as you'll see, is that when I go to trim it in place, I will have a line of defense so I don't accidentally cut into the fabric. As you can see, I've already trimmed it. Those are those 2 lines I was talking about. You have your trim line or your cut line as well as your tack down stitch. And I went ahead and I did my placement line for the first flower. What I'm going to do now is, according to our instructions on page 12, I'm going to go ahead and get my flower and place it right there. It is already sticky because it had applique fuse and fix on the back, so I don't have to worry about it falling off, but I probably should line it up a little nicer. Applique fuse and fix is nice because you can actually pull it up and then reposition. There we go, I like that. So now I'm going to take this over to the machine and go ahead and do the cover stitch. Now you see this beautiful cover stitch. I like how the digitizers did that, and because I pre-cut it, it lined up perfectly. Now I'm going to take this hoop right back to the machine and I'm going to actually follow along in the instructions through the rest of the steps, 12, 13, 14, and follow all the other color changes through the cover stitch. And the next thing you're going to see is a completed panel. So here we have our completed panel. This is one of 6 panels, and I just want to highlight a couple of things. We have our interlocking tab right here that will help with the assembly, and we also have a hole right here which we know we're going to punch a little bit later according to the instructions. So now you're going to go ahead and repeat the process for the other 5 panels, and I'll meet you back here in just a bit with all of those. So now I've trimmed the wash away just a little bit off. But I'm going to go ahead and take this and rinse it under warm running water, and I will lay it flat to dry on something like wax paper that nothing it would stick to. I've already done that with the other 5, so that is the next step, and that's 17 if you're following along in your PDF. Okay, now we're going to work on the leaf. So for the leaf, and we're on step 18 here in our PDF, what we're going to do is we're putting a piece of stable stick on the back, and then of course I have my applique fuse and fix letting me know which piece it is, and I've done it on both sides, both of the fabric that's going to go on the back of the hoop as well as the black felt that's going to go on the front of the hoop to make our leaf. So I went ahead with the magic of television, and I have done my placement line for my leaf, and I've put down my black felt right on top, just like it says in the PDF. The only difference between the PDF and what you see here is that I have used that pre-printed applique fuse and fix so that I could pre-cut my shape ahead of time. Otherwise, as the picture is showing, you can just do it as trim in place. Either one will work. But I'm following along in these pages of the PDF, page 16 and 17. I've placed my black felt right on my placement line, and then before I go any further, I made sure that I have placed my orange back fabric on those same placement lines. So you want to make sure before you add any other decorative element to this leaf that you have the back orange backing on it, and then we're ready to take this over to the machine. All right, this is what our leaf looks like. And you know what? I forgot to mention, and something super critical, is that when you go to do this element, this is a freestanding applique. And unlike the pumpkins, where it won't matter what your bobbin is, it can be white, it's not a problem, it won't be seen. You are going to want to match your bobbin to your thread on the top. That will be very, very important. So make sure when you're doing the leaf that you match your bobbin, but when it's all said and done, this is what you have. And now I'm going to talk about our bases. So I just want to make a quick note on a couple of the elements that aren't necessarily in the PDF. And that is, we have our stem base, which I have this hooped, and through the magic of television, I have already got that. That's your stem base. And then of course we will also have our pumpkin base. This is the fiber form and the felt on that. So you'll want to make sure that you do those elements as well. And it's the same process that we've been doing with Aquamesh and Badge Master. Finally, the last thing that you're going to want to stitch out is your stem right there, and it's going to look like this. It's 2 layers of Aquamesh and Badge Master, just like we've been doing. Make sure that you have a full spool of thread, and you're going to want to make sure you have that for especially the grays or whatever color that you're using for whatever pumpkin you're making. You don't want to run out of thread. It's no fun, trust me. Okay, the next thing that I think is really important is after they've dried, you're going to want to take your panels and you're going to want to give them a really good press, because while they're warm, and I'm just put my iron down here, you're going to go ahead and bend them, and I think of it sort of like as a letter J. You're kind of pre-bending them so that they'll have that really nice pumpkin shape. That is what we're going to do with all of our panels. Okay, well, we're cruising right along, and now what we need to do is, according to our instructions on page 21, is we need to prepare our stem base. So went ahead and I've started to prep my base. I've already put in a couple of holes. I'm going to get this guy right here. I am using the OESD punch tool, perfect punch tool. I absolutely love it because it doesn't mean that I have to have like amazing muscles in order to punch a hole. I just go in, sometimes I'll give it a little turn, and I have a hole, and that's ready to go. I also notice, according to the instructions, that I need to make slits for the stem of the pumpkin to go inside. So I'm just going to take my craft knife, using my mini mat, and I'm just going to open those right up. And I'm going to go all the way around, which with the magic of television, I already have. And the very next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to take one of my pumpkin panels right here, and I'm going to go in. And these locking tabs are fantastic. It means that this panel is not going to come out once I put it together. It's not going to slide around. And I'm going to do that with all 6 panels. I'm just about done here. Using my alligator clamps to kind of finagle that right into place, get that exactly where I want it. Perfect. Now you have sort of what looks like a flower. I'm going to set this aside for right now, and I'm going to set this aside for right now. We're going to go to our stem. Here we have our stem, and I've started putting it together through the magic of television. You know, I just sort of pre-did that a little bit. You'll notice that I have button clips. That's so that they don't fall out while I'm assembling the rest of the stem. I'm going to take my alligator clamps, and I found that for me, what is really nice is if I just go right through the hole right here. I'm just going to kind of wiggle my way, and it'll be a little tight at first, but that is okay. Because when we rinsed out the starch, we didn't rinse everything out, and it's given it some nice body, which helps it stand up on our actual pumpkin right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And through the magic of television, I have a stem. Okay, now, as you see, I have my beautiful, it looks like a flower of pumpkin petals. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my alligator clamps, and I'm going to reach through, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to do the first row all the way around, because I found that that works easiest when putting these pumpkins together. So I'm just going to take that, I'm going to pull it through, kind of help it along there. Great, and then I like to use a button clip because I don't want that to come back out. And I'm going to keep doing it all the way around the first row. Then I'm going to go through and do the second row, and so forth, working the whole way around the pumpkin. And then what I will be done, or what I will have when I'm all done doing that, is I will have this pumpkin here. All right, now we have our stem, we have our little buttonettes, we've got 3 holes here, and we have 3 buttonettes here on the bottom that we need to pull through, and I'm going to use our alligator clamps to do that. Same process that we've been doing, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that through, grab my buttonette, and I went through the bottom of the pumpkin. As you can see, it makes it much easier than if you're trying to do it top down. And I'm going to keep doing that all the way around, and through the magic of television, I did. Now we're going to talk about how to insert the base. Okay, so now we need to make sure that our empty pumpkin gets a base so it'll be nice and cozy this winter and it's not going to be all open to the elements. We have pre-cut our eyelet holes per the instructions in the PDF. So I'm going to go ahead, take my base, going to make sure that I do it the correct way with the pretty side out and not the ugly side. So I'm going to go through, just going to put my alligator clamps right through there, grab my eyelet, if you can see that, and pull that all the way through. And then I would do that all the way around, and of course through the magic of television, we're going to pretend like I just did. One last thing to do, and we're not going to put these away yet. The last thing that we're going to do is on your base, or sorry, on your stem, you'll see that you have holes. And it might be a little hard to see with the screen, but you really do have holes. And you can take your alligator clamp and line it up with those holes. So I'm going to kind of weave it right through. And I'm actually going through the stem. See that? Now I'm going to take my beautiful little leaf. I love this leaf. It's such a cutie. And I'm going to pull it right through. And we're going to pretend that it's complete, which it is, because through the magic of television, here is our beautiful gray pumpkin. I love that. So cozy. There are so many ways to save and so many ways to create with our freestanding primitive pumpkins, our primitive applique, and our primitive quilting. I can't wait to see the pumpkins that you make and create in your own sewing space, and I invite you to put them on The Perfect Stitch by OESD on Facebook. It is a great place to go to get inspired, and I will tell you, when you place your pumpkins on there, I'm going to get inspired. Thank you for joining me today, and happy stitching.